Hey everyone, thank you for joining the DLC Drop podcast. My guest today is Richie Valdez. Richie is a friend that I've gotten to know through the skateboarding industry. In this episode, he talks through a very difficult cancer diagnosis during 2020, the year of COVID. He also shares the resourcefulness that he's gained through an experience as being a skateboarder. So, a lot to learn in this episode, a guy with some very unique views and experiences. Thanks for joining us. Drop in the untold stories of industry leaders, influencers, and insights on future innovation. I'm John Davidson, and this is the DLC Drop Podcast. Richie Valdez, my good friend, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I just went and got some fills, and I'm just back at home right now.
What's Phil's?
Phil's is like it's my favorite coffee place. It's
Nice.
a NorCal place that finally came down south.
I'm a NorCal guy. I went to Sacramento State, lived in San Mateo, former Central Cal, Fresno, shout out.
Now, you really want to shout out Fresno?
I mean,
I'm just kidding. It's like the car theft capital of the world.
You know, what's funny is like the older I've gotten and the more comfortable and confident I've gotten, I'm like, yeah, I'm from this teeny tiny town called Reedley, California, next to Fresno. Like,
oh,
I don't, like I used to be like hiding it and stuff. But then I feel like there's something that as you become more comfortable with who you are, like you just let that stuff, I don't know. It's easier to be more transparent.
I think I grew up in a pretty cool place, so I've never been too like ashamed of it or whatever.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a town called Watsonville, which is like
oh yeah,
it's like the ghetto of San. It's like the super like Mexican hood, people getting shot with like automatic weapons down the street.
Yeah,
down in my hill. Yeah, it's pretty intense place, but I thought it was pretty cool at the same time.
So take me through this. So, you've had a career in skateboarding as a filmer. You've been a team manager. We've both been skateboarders our whole lives. We had opportunities to kind of work in skateboarding in a variety of different ways. But take me through that path of like, being a skateboarder in Watsonville and going to being able to, travel the world filming professional skateboarders.
Yeah, it kind of happened for me pretty organically almost. I remember being like my dad like wasn't a photographer or like a video guy or anything, but he kind of always put cameras in my hands. And when I was super young, I remember they have they have this like photo that I shot of my parents when I was like 8 years old, but it's like, in the living room. So I kind of always remembered being pushed to like a kind of an artistic side versus like a more athletic side by my parents.
Yeah.
And so when I started skating, that's when I really picked up the cameras more, like my dad had a bunch of cameras and eventually like he kind of noticed that I was really into it. And so he finally bought me like for Christmas, like an editing system and camera of my own and stuff. So I remember being in high school and like not really knowing what I wanted to do with my life. I was just like skating with my friends basically and making videos with them. And I think I was like kind of interested in art history. For some random reason. I thought that I actually really wanted to like restore frescoes. I thought that would have been like a really cool thing to do, is like go to like Italy or something and restore just these really awesome. I'm not a religious person, but I think like religious imagery is really cool looking.
Yeah.
I kind of thought about that and I was like, oh, I could go to like school for art history. And then my dad was like, that sounds boring. Like, yeah, you're right. And then he's like, why don't you go to film school?
So what did your dad do, out of curiosity?
My family's like in the agriculture industry.
Uh-huh.
My grandpa was a very successful strawberry farmer. And cool. So both my parents worked in the strawberry industry. Most of my family did. And a lot of my like cousins and a lot of people in my family like just naturally did that. So I was kind of the black sheep in a way, like, yeah, a lot of them didn't have to do anything. They could just work with the family. I was like, my grandpa was a, very wealthy. I kind of grew up in this like dichotomy of rich and poor. Like I don't want to like, I'm not talking badly about my family, but like my mom's side was like a little bit, less fortunate. Uh-huh. And then my dad's side was like just kind of filthy rich, not my family in particular. My parents weren't, but like, I was kind of caught in between these two worlds.
Yeah.
So me going to film school was like my grandpa, like, was he just kind of didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going to film school, and then like towards the end of film school, I ended up interning. I had two internships while there, and one of them kind of like led me to get hired at Hurley Clothing.
Yeah. Were they owned by
That
Nike at the time, or was that
Yeah,
pre-Nike?
they were already owned by Nike.
Okay.
I basically had an internship at like a music video production company, and the guy knew that I was super into skating, and he kind of just like literally just got me a job, like 2 months before graduating,
Sick.
and he kind of got my career started. I still think about it all the time, like how lucky I was, because I remember being at home and like sending like a cold email to this guy because I loved the music videos and the bands that he was like. He did like the Josie music video for Blink 182,
Oh, sick. Yeah.
and he did like the Damn It one where they're in like the movie theater, and he
Yeah.
just did all these like really cool videos, and I just kind of like was under his wing for a while, and he basically did everything like to help me get on my feet post college. And his name's Darren Doan. Very thankful for him. He came to like my graduation and stuff, and
That's
super
awesome.
cool.
So
Yeah,
did he do anything in skateboarding, or was he a skater, or he just was connected to the industry and knew that
I
you were a
think
skater?
no, his dad actually was like a special effects guy in Hollywood. So he was
Oh,
just,
cool.
I think he grew up, kind of in that world. And so he was, I don't know how, I've always been curious how he did it, but like he was just doing music. He did videos for like AFI, and God, he did so many. But that was just kind of the like world he operated in, was like, punk band music videos and like hardcore bands and metal bands.
So he was like just
So
super connected to all these bands, and he had a video production service, and so he produced the music videos for a lot of the bands he was connected to.
yeah, he had a
Okay.
pretty good relationship with like, bands and record labels and stuff, and his stuff ruled. It always looked cool. And yeah, I forget, he was like friends with someone at Hurley, and he basically just like it's funny, I like almost don't like that job isn't on my resume or anything. I kind of like pushed it out of,
Yeah.
I don't know, part of me just, it doesn't really speak to who I am, like working for them. Like it was cool, I guess, but it was cool because I got to meet everyone that I know now kind of because of that job
Mm.
and stuff. But I never really felt like a fit in there. Growing up in like Santa Cruz County with surfers, and then like working for like predominantly surfboard company or surfing company. I mean, surf clothing company.
Yeah.
I felt pretty out of place, but it was still really cool to like, they're basically like, hey, we're gonna send you to Hawaii for 2 weeks, and I was like, oh, I'm like graduating from college in like a week. Okay, yeah, that
Sick.
sounds sweet. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. What were you exactly doing for Hurley at the time before you took off and went on to the next thing?
So I was like the skate video guy there.
Yeah.
I was basically just like, yeah, filming like skate stuff and putting
So
that
they
stuff
had a skate
together.
team. Do they still have a skate team? Like I remember, like Bob Burnquist
Yeah, I used to
has
skate with Bob at I used to go to Bob's house and film him, which was pretty wild and
with
stuff.
like the crazy Dreamland and
Yeah,
everything. Did you see that being built, or was it already built by the
it
time you
was
got
already
there?
there. I just got to like one of the guys that worked. So there was two video guys, like it was me and this guy Bruno, who was Bob's brother-in-law. And
Yeah.
Bruno is the shit, dude. I love that guy. Super gnarly ripper too, but like he was like Bob's right-hand man, still is.
Yeah.
So I would spend a lot of time in like Oceanside or Vista with them too. They would just hit me up, and I would just drive there from LA and show up. And like I got to film a trick of Danny Ways that like never came out, which
Wow.
was like
Can you
really
say what trick it
crazy.
was?
Yeah,
Is it a
so
secret?
in like the really extremely sorry, I think, video, or maybe I was really sorry. I forget. Bob Burnquist does like, he had like a goalpost
Yeah.
on top of the mega quarter pipe, and then I think Bob did like a bunch of tricks on it. I filmed him do a trick. I think he did front blunt, and it was like in the flip video. But Danny was trying alley oop backside flip, like 5-0,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I guess,
Like a pivot
yeah, I guess
grind, or like with it would be with
it's like
his
a
back
backside
truck.
180. Yeah, so
Wow.
he was trying that, and then like he was trying it for a while. We were there for a minute, and I remember just like tripping that I was like, Bob had already done the front blunt, and then Danny was just like, dude, we're like running out of light. He's like, I'm just gonna try switchback 5-0, and he did it like in 3 tries. It
Of
was
course.
so crazy. It was so insane to watch. Like anytime I
Switch.
went to Bob's house, yeah,
Well, and just for the listeners to understand too, like, so Bob Burnquist is a professional skateboarder. He's got this crazy Dreamland. He has a mega ramp, which people see at the X Games now, and kind of what non-skateboarders kind of see as skateboarding. It's like skateboarding, if you will. And I
Yeah.
think that quarter pipe is what? Is it 25 feet or
I forget
how tall is
the
it?
dimensions. It's massive, dude. I've been up there like standing on the edge, like filming fisheye, just like, oh my God. Like I would
Yeah.
never drop in on it. It's that big, it's like ungodly big.
So the
I wouldn't even consider
typical,
it.
yeah, the typical half pipe is around 11 feet, like vert ramps that people will see on the X Games and stuff. And the
Mhm.
mega ramp has this huge launch, a massive gap, and then at the end, it's got about a 20, 25-foot quarter pipe. And in this situation, they put a soccer goal
Goalpost.
post on top
Yeah.
to launch up, grind it, which is probably 8 to 10
Another,
feet in the air.
yeah.
And it's basically a death wish. Like, yeah, like a lot of what's crazy, you see, I was watching Heath Kirchhart's video from Stay Gold, his the secret part,
He backside 360s the gap. Yeah.
right? And like that's so extremely gnarly for a street skater. But when
Dude, the
you,
roll in is scary. Like I remember the first time I went there, I parked right next to like the mega like landing
yeah,
or the quarter pipe, and I just grabbed my board, ran up the like
yeah,
roll in, and just dropped in and ate so hard, and my back got sliced by like a piece of, how like there's seams on the masonite or the
yeah,
skate light.
yep.
My back got just like, dude, ripped apart. And Bob was like, dude, are you crazy? What are you doing? And I skate super loose trucks, super
Yikes.
loose trucks, and I had hard wheels, and I just zung out. I didn't even think about it. I just got there and I was like, oh, I'm just
Did you
gonna drop
start
in
from
on
the
this.
top or did,
Yeah,
oh, like
it
were
was
you
so
gonna
dumb.
like bail before the ramp or you're just like,
I
let
didn't
me
even
go
think
over the
about
gap?
it. I just wanted to. I just literally, dude. I just drove from LA, got out of my car. I was so like juiced, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna like roll in, maybe like kick turn or like come to fakie, and got
Yeah.
smoked. I was bleeding all over the place, and I remember I like ran to my car and I had like hand sanitizer, and I just put like a big old glob of hand sanitizer on my back and then like or on my hand and then like rubbed it on my back because it was like covered in like soot. Like I remember putting my
Oh,
hand on my
dang.
back and it
Yeah.
was like like my whole hand was like black and like red from the blood. And then Bob like goes and he cuts like a piece of aloe from like he had just aloe,
Of
growing. He's
course.
like, here, dude, like just rub this on there, like bandage it up.
What I've heard, because you're going about 45 miles an hour, I think those dudes like 40-ish
Yeah,
when they're
most
going
I'm
down that. And
sure.
I've heard that they cover every piece of skin because if skin just even touches the ramp, it just
Burns you.
disappears.
Yeah. So that's what happened to me, dude. Just
Yikes.
it sucked, but I mean, I learned my lesson. After that, I was like still hurt and stuff, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna drop in from halfway because my trucks are loose, and then I was doing like full cabs and stuff on like the lower part of
Yeah.
the like quarter pipe and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely not something to like mess with. I couldn't imagine bailing like trying to like as a
Yeah.
street skater bail like Keith Kirchart.
Gnarly. Well, so you're with Hurley, you had an opportunity to film with Bob and Danny Way. So did that move you deeper into the skateboard industry or what was that next step?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of like so when I was there, I was skating a lot with David Loy.
Yep.
He was just always down to go out, and I would just like stay at his house for like a week or two at a time. I
Cool.
was like, okay, cool. Like you live in Orange County, I'm in LA. I don't want to keep driving. I was doing that a lot, where I'd be driving, like driving home after skating, and then coming back in the morning, and then driving to Riverside, and then going back to Orange County to drop them off, and then going to LA. So I was just like, dude, I'm just gonna like try to stay here. And his parents were so cool.
Yeah.
His parents did a lot for a lot of people. They took care of so many people, and so I did that. I kind of like because of David, I met like pretty much most of the like I live with Sean Hale, and
Yep.
I met Sean through David. I met Ryan Reyes through David. A lot of people that didn't skate for Hurley at the time, I met through David. Riley Hawk was like one of the original people that I was skating with when he was like a little kid still, and
Well, and
I
David
kind
Loyce
of
skid for Birdhouse, right? As
still
like
does,
a
yeah.
pretty young kid.
Hmm.
And he was like Tony Hawk's favorite. Like it kind of felt like because he was like a kid
Yeah.
who could like huck and skate big rails, but could also skate transition. Yeah. So you met. Did you have any run-ins with Tony Hawk through that? I have an interesting Riley Hawk story for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've just kind of seen Tony like here and there throughout the years. When he was young, I think I would mainly drop him off with his mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tony's been super cool. I mean, I don't like know Tony very well, but we just kind of like I think we both he knows like what I did, I guess,
Sure.
back then, and he knows I've always like I went on King of the Road with Birdhouse. You know, I've always been
Oh my gosh.
Birdhouse to me has always been like I'm forever. I never worked for them, but
Okay.
I've always been super grateful. They've done a lot for me too. You know, not to I wouldn't say like Tony in particular, but like Birdhouse in general. You know, has been a pretty like big thing in my life. You know,
Yeah,
so
it seems like a number of the skater, like you just been close and filmed a lot of the pros, right? Like, who are,
David, like Ben Ray. But yeah, I'm just super. My good friend is the team manager of Birdhouse. So
okay.
I mean, it's just like I filmed a lot of Sean's part for the last video they put out, and it was like a video with him and Clive and Reese Salkin.
I forgot, dude, that and didn't you guys win when you did King of the
Yeah,
Road? So you
yeah,
won King of the Road. Did you get anything from that? Like, did you get like
yeah.
a
I got like the
trophy or
trophy with my name on it,
sick?
which is it's like the only trophy I have.
All right, so people who don't know, so Thrasher King of the Road, it's 10 Days of Mayhem put on by Thrasher Magazine. And essentially they've got a book and it's all of these challenges that some are skateboarding involved, some are not skateboarding involved. And correct me if I'm wrong, Richie, but you've got multiple teams in multiple cities and then they all come together at the end and they're whoever checks off
In the
most
middle
of the
too.
tricks. Okay.
You meet up in the middle, or the like 5-day mark, and then the 10-day mark too. Yeah.
So like I definitely like, geez, King of the Road. I remember Jamie Thomas from Zero Skateboards. They won like 3 in a row or something like
Yeah.
that.
Birdhouse did too.
They did too, 3 in a row.
Yeah, they're the only ones. Yeah.
So what is that contest like? Like being in the van and like just it seems like the gnarliest thing in skateboarding to be a part of. Like I think a lot of teams like stopped doing it, right? Because it was like this is.
I don't think people really stop. They would just change. It would go like board companies would do it, and then shoe companies would do it. Like they would switch up, the types of teams that could go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was heinous. It was a good time, but you could tell like around 4 or 5 days in, like people were just, dude, you're like skating, not, I didn't have to skate, but they're pushing themselves as hard as they can, like every single day. So like halfway through, like the spirits were like, because the way you look at it too, like you never know exactly like what the other teams are doing. So you have to assume that you're kind of in last place at all times. I have friends like
That's a good point.
Kyle Walker and like Zach Wallen were homies of mine that were on the other teams, and I would like text them here and there from the van. But it was just, it was pretty grueling, dude. And then for like me and the team manager, my buddy Adam Mills, like we would have to stay up. Sometimes we'd get to like a hotel or something, and then we'd have to stay up like hours organizing all the footage, because the footage needed to be organized in a certain way to like, basically when they announce the winner, they need to see everything that was done quickly to know like, okay, these guys actually got all these points. Like, here's the proof,
Right.
And people lost clips. There was like points that would get lost because the filmers either like didn't capture it, or there's a million things that could go wrong. So it was pretty crazy for us because, as the filmers, like we had to stay up a little later than when everyone else got to relax. We were like, all right, like here's my footage, back it up. Here's the timeline that we need to put it in with like the titles and all that stuff.
Right.
So it was cool to go and win for sure. And I don't think I would want to go again though.
That was my next question.
Yeah, I don't think I need to do that again.
Would you have gone if you knew how gnarly it was?
I kind of feel like I knew.
Yeah.
I definitely knew what I was signing up for. I worked at Street League at the time too, and that was my vacation. I saved up all my vacation time and used it for that. And then I came back and I went straight to work like the next day. It was pretty fucked. It was like, yeah, it was pretty wild.
That's insane. But, so
yeah, no days off for that one.
Yeah, and Street League is where you and I met. We got to skate some of those courses together, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was like the best part of the trips.
Yeah,
pretty much.
The funny dynamic about skating a Street League course, which is it's one of my favorite memories of all time, is being able to skate some of those courses. But it's pretty gnarly because they're obstacles built for pros.
Yeah,
and you want to do a trick you're proud of, but you also don't want to be the dude who looks like he's trying to like be the man, because the 20 best skateboarders in the world are about to come shut this course down, and you also don't want to like face plant in front of Rob Dyrdek when he's hanging out on the sidelines. That was my experience anyway. I was like, I'm trying to get one thing that like maybe I could throw on the gram and like I'm proud of,
Yeah.
but you're definitely not hucking because it's like you're gonna look
I
like an
was.
idiot. Were you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I would always. I mean, we had to be there early, anyways. You know, so like,
Yeah.
I would always get there earlier, I think, and try to skate for like an hour, or which was like 8 in the morning. Try to like get motivated to like skate for an hour before like working a 12, 13-hour day, 15-hour day.
Right.
And then I would skate after too. I would always like skate before and after. That was like the only thing that I do. That was a weird thing for me to be a part of, I think, because it was such like a skewed like way of viewing skateboarding, and like
Right.
I didn't grow up skating contests or like really doing anything like that or like caring about contests. And then
I don't think
you're
any
like,
of us did. I think it
yeah,
like I think it gained some momentum. Like here's my thing with this is what my theory with skateboarding contests is I think that skaters who don't make hardly any money compared to traditional sports athletes see it as this is a way to make some money.
yeah.
And it's I don't know.
Well, last place got like 7 G's or something. You could go there and just bail every trick and like
Right.
oh, I could still make like $30,000-$40,000 a year just like going and being last, like, and if you tried a little bit, you can make even more.
Yeah, and
So
I think X Games you're making 10 grand, maybe 20 grand at least back then, and then Street League came in, and essentially some background for the audience is Rob Dyrdek I think wanted to legitimize skate contests as much as he could, and so it was like let's have this thing where it's like you're skating a street plaza, something that is much more street oriented as far as obstacle goes, and then the winner won 150 grand starting with like the first contest, and I think they've lowered those prize pools over
I thought it
time.
was 100 grand, but I could be wrong. I don't even. I feel like I should know, but like I also don't really care. It was just Nigel winning, like
Right.
I don't think I paid attention to how much money he was making, but yeah, I thought it was 100 grand. Maybe it was 150.
So my question for you is, you kind of like have experience like in skateboarding, being a filmer for like both sides of the like you're going on King of the Road, and then you're also, Street League was probably as commercialized as you could get, right?
Oh
Because
yeah, at
it's
the
on
time.
ESPN and all that. What was that difference between like, hey, we're with the homies in the streets and in the van, to this
It
is
was
going
an
to be
office
on
job. It was literally an office.
something like, I don't know. I mean, skate culture is just the skate industry. It's so the opposite of like your 9 to 5 or your typical office job that I think sometimes it's a lesson for industries. Something maybe COVID taught us a little bit as far as like, dude, like lean into the culture of like the industry you're in. Like, yeah, work needs to get done, but open your eyes beyond. Like, I don't know. I think maybe if they opened, maybe if somebody like Street League or somebody who's like commercializing, a core industry, a subculture, a counterculture, you're going to get better talent because they want to work there, or you're saying you're given the freedom to work within the way that you're going to do your best work. What?
Yeah,
Do you agree with that?
I kind of trip on creatives. I hate using that term, but I'm not saying I'm a creative, but I don't understand how people who like work at, say, an agency that does like, I don't know, some kind of fucking marketing or some for like a client, like imagine being like a creative person and then having to do creative stuff when it's not there, when you're not feeling it, or like
To just force it, right?
I have to make something, I have to come up with something for this client that sucks, that I don't care about and I have no attachment to, and you have to like put your energy into it. And then being in an office is like the most uncreative like setting I could ever think of.
Yeah, and I think it's like that's where people are forced to get into jobs, right? And it's the type of thing where it's like I got to make a living. This is kind of how society has set it up for me, where it's very rare I think that people break out of the mold or they do something for the first time. And I think this is something that that you've pursued a little bit with. I want to talk about your documentaries and kind of what you're doing there and why you're doing it, because, and we'll link to them in the podcast too, but I don't know, like what's cool about the documentaries that you do is they're so well done. So,
Thank you.
but also they're highlighting a number of people who are very unique. They're all doing their own thing. And
Yeah.
your goal, we were talking the other day about this, is like, it's not to create a video production company where you can then generate revenue. It's for
Yeah.
you to
I'm
use
losing money making this.
it's for you to use your skills to highlight people that you're stoked on, right? And then, of course, there's hopes or potential opportunity to, work with those people more in the future because you've added value to them. But I'm really interested to hear kind of straight from you, like, what is the thought behind these documentaries? What are some of them that you've done? And share a little bit about Jamie Thomas hitting you up, like
Yeah, he just
your
texted me a
idol.
second ago. Like,
Sick.
yeah. Yeah, Jamie wanted some stuff like broken out from the piece. So yeah, I always trip out when I get a text from Jamie or like a DM.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like I would wanted to do this stuff for years.
Uh-huh.
And I think I was inspired by this video I saw on this guy Jacob Bannon. He's the singer of this band called Converge.
Yeah.
And I saw a piece that was made on him, kind of about his art. He does a lot of he's a singer of a band. He owns a record label, but he does a lot of art for like other bands, and his stuff looks really cool. Seems like a douchebag, but his art is amazing. So I watched this video like on him that was, documentary style, and I loved what he had to say. I'm a huge fan of him, and I remember when I saw that, I was like, oh, like that was so cool. Like this is someone I've like looked up to since I was a little kid, and I felt like I got to learn a little bit more, about him and what he does like outside of the music. And I remember like thinking that that was something I would wanted to do, but I didn't really have like a means to do it with like revenue. Like,
Mm,
okay, who's gonna pay me to do this? So like I
right.
kind of like never. I always had so much stuff going on that I never really like thought about actually doing it. And so last year, obviously, like I think we were all forced to have a little more free time than normal.
Yeah.
And so I guess this ties into my health issue.
Here we go.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so like on the day like of the day that the country was like had announced that we were gonna like be on a quarantine lockdown, like the country was like shutting down, I was diagnosed with cancer,
Wow.
which is pretty like, yeah, I hate like, I kind of told you I didn't really want to talk about it, but I feel like it's almost necessary for the documentaries to kind of come to light.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I was diagnosed with cancer on the 17th of March, which is coming up pretty soon on a year. And when that happened, I feel like I knew that I had cancer, and
Mm,
so things with coronavirus were already picking up, and I couldn't get in to see a doctor.
wow.
People were pushing me out months in advance, like, oh, like we can see you, like June or something, and I'm like, it's like February,
Yeah.
And so
Jeez.
I eventually like was like, okay, you know what? No one wants to see me. I'm just gonna go get a physical and try to like force my way into like, something rather than like trying to see specialists. I was like, I'm just gonna go see a general practitioner. And I felt like I knew I had it, but I was losing sleep for like a month, waiting because I couldn't really like stop thinking about it. And so when I went in, the guy like needed all these tests done, and I couldn't get the tests done because people were turning me away because of the pandemic.
Right.
And so eventually he like basically just forced these people to see me, which I'm so grateful for him. But like I also had to go to places and just sit there. Like I had to get like a ultrasound, and
Wow.
they didn't want to see me. And he was like, I need you to just go over there tomorrow morning because they're refusing to see you today. And I had to show up at like 7 in the morning and sit there. And he was like, don't leave until they see you. He's like, you're not leaving. Like
Wow.
sit there and like tell them like, if there's any openings, like you're there. And so like I had to do that for a few things. And I remember sitting at home talking to my friend Yaki. He's like the pro on Baker now,
Yeah.
Jacopo
Uh-huh.
Carosi. I was like FaceTiming with him and I with my roommate on his phone, and I got like a call and it was like, hey, can we have you come in? The doctor wants to talk to you about your results. And I was like, oh, I was
Jeez.
like, that's not good.
Yeah.
And I was like driving over there and I called my parents and I was like, hey guys, like I think I have cancer. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, like I've kind of been hiding this from you. And they were just like, no, everything's fine. And I was just like, I don't think it's fine. And then, I went in and the doctor was like came in and told me I had it, and
Mm.
I was just like, all right, like, what do we got to do? And he was like, I could like see him like tearing up, telling me, and I was just like, yeah, like, what's up? What do we have to do? He's like,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're taking it like this. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I have grown, men like in here throwing things and like breaking out crying and like screaming when I tell them this kind of news.
Yeah.
It's always hard every time. And I was like, I told him, I was like, I'm just glad to know what it is now. It
Mm.
was almost like a weight was lifted. I was like, okay, I don't have to think about this anymore at night or like think about it at all. I was like, I know I have it. Like, it's just time to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I got testicular cancer, by the way. So
Not
he was
ideal.
basically like, we got to like figure this out. He's like, I need you to go see the specialist right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the 7th, that was the 18th. And then on the 20th, I was like getting surgery,
Wow.
to get that thing removed. And my parents were, up north, and I had to like deal with the whole thing by myself, essentially. My roommates,
Wow.
took care of me, helped me out as much as I could, but that was pretty rough, And that was the recovery was when I kind of told myself I was going to start making these documentaries.
Mm.
I was like hopped up on, dude, 6 or 8 pills a day. I forget. They gave me some like when I was getting into surgery, they're like, hey, like we're gonna prescribe you these pain meds. And I was like, I don't really like pills, and they're like, you're gonna
Right.
want to take them. They're like, just take them. And
Yep.
so I started taking these like pain meds, like couldn't eat for 5 days, had no appetite. Every single side effect I got basically.
Mm.
Like
Jeez.
insomnia, itching, nausea, like there was all these things. I was like, I'm feeling all of these. So I
Wow.
couldn't sleep. I was in pain. Like the sixth day, I was like, okay, you know what? No, the seventh, after a week, I was like, I don't want to take these pills anymore because I can barely drink water. I couldn't eat anything. My roommate would bring me stuff and like force me to like drink a smoothie or something.
Yeah.
And I eventually was just like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just wake up tomorrow and not take these pills because, dude, it was so weird being like high on opiates too.
I'm
I
sure.
just didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all. And so the seventh day I woke up, seventh day, how biblical. I woke up and I didn't take like the pills. I'm supposed to take them like right when I wake up, and I didn't do it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna see like how much pain is being like hidden, masked by whatever by the
Sure.
pills.
Yeah.
So over the course of the day, I started feeling the pain more. I was just like, oh, this sucks. But every hour I had to get up and walk for a couple minutes because they didn't want the incision. I have this massive scar now, and they didn't
Yeah.
want it to clot. So I had to like get up every hour and like just inch, around the apartment. Like just every
Yikes.
step hurt so bad. Even with the pills, they hurt. So then I had to like deal with that day. And I was like, oh, dude, this is so jacked, like so jacked up. So come like, nighttime, almost all the pain is set in because, the pills from the day before weren't there. And I started having like these irrational thoughts. And I
Mm.
just really wanted to be with my parents. I really wanted to be with my mom and my grandma. And I was
Yeah.
just laying in bed, just like, I don't want to be here. Like, this is so lame. And then they like, by 2, I was having like suicidal thoughts.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, it's been a week on these opioids. Like, I can't believe that I'm feeling this way. Like I was literally just like, I don't even want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to,
Right.
like, it was so, your brain just turns to mush, dude. And after that, I think I dealt with like the weird suicidal thoughts. And I just kind of missed my parents. It's like you have this weird thing where your body like betrays you, and it could have potentially killed me if, I didn't take care of it sooner.
Sure.
Because it spreads from like your testicles to your lymph nodes to your lungs to your brain. That's like, it
Wow.
just shoots right up. So I kind of like was just really sad. I was
Mm-hmm.
in pain and just wanted to, I felt like a little kid. I just wanted to like be held by my mom.
Right.
And I always miss my grandma. And I just like had so many weird thoughts going through my brain. I just was thinking about her being alone at home. And I'm like, dude, I'm alone right now. Like, I want to be with her. And so the next
Mm-hmm.
morning I woke up, and that's when I was like, my roommate Sean and I stopped taking the pills after that night too. I was like, I'm not dealing with this withdrawal ever again. I dealt with the pain instead of like taking the pills,
Yeah.
because I had that night and I was like, I don't want to do this again in like another week because I
Yeah.
had 2 weeks worth of pills. And so my roommate Sean has been developing this shoe that's supposed to like it stretches out the arch of your foot.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of was just like, okay, I thought about the documentaries in that like week period. I was like, okay, I think I want to do this because I know I'm gonna have free time.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like threw out the idea to my roommate Sean. I was like, hey, can I like do a video piece with you and like we can talk about the shoes? Because Sean had been developing the shoe and like his stuff was supposed to come out already, but because of Corona, like there was delays.
Yeah.
And so he was like, dude, I don't know what to do. I have people who already pre-ordered. And I was like, well, let's do this video. And I was like, it doesn't have to be like a branded thing. We can just like do something that is about you, but like you focus on the shoe.
Uh-huh.
And so he used that video piece that I made with him as like something to send like to his, the people who are interested in buying the shoe or
Uh-huh.
signed up for like the mailing list. And I had so much fun doing that. And I mean, I was doing it with my roommate, it was super easy. But that I was like, okay, like I can do this, that led to me wanting to do more of them essentially.
Now, during this
So,
time when you decided to do that, did you have the thought of like, if I don't have much time left, I want to do that now, or was it a completely different thought?
no, the doctor, there was like two types of the cancer. There was
Uh-huh.
like one that was like a lot more sketchy.
Yeah.
And then there's one that's like, it's like one type of cell, but like, I forget the name of the like, I don't remember the type of cell that like gets created in like the cancer phase, but I had the like safer kind where it's like, okay, like I still had to wait like a month or something to find out if I needed chemotherapy and all that stuff, like
Right.
radiation. And so, once I found out that I knew that I didn't have the like really bad one. I knew everything was going to be fine, I guess,
Yeah. What were
but
some of the things beyond that documentary? What were some things? I know we've talked about music, playlists. What were some things that really helped you get through that time when you're dealing with, oh my gosh. I mean, a lot of people just dealing with COVID had a crazy time without cancer on top of that.
from like almost January up until March, like you knew something was going on and like people were just no one really had an idea of what was happening yet at that point, like it was still
Right.
so new. And so I felt like the world was caving in, like the whole world was caving in, but then like my world was caving in too, and that was like it was kind of like the best time and the worst time to get it because nothing was really going on. I didn't
Sure.
have there was no FOMOing into like oh like people are out having the best time of their lives. It's like no, everyone's pretty miserable. I'm just a little bit more miserable for a little bit.
Sure.
And I feel like I treated it like a rolled ankle. It's like, okay, dude, whatever. Like I'm gonna just deal with this and move on. And I kind of like still treat it like that now to this day. I mean, I have like checkups, like these pretty like costly checkups I have every quarter,
Yeah.
but I've kind of treated it like I didn't really like let it. I didn't, I don't consider myself like a cancer survivor or like some weird. Dude, it's just another injury. It's like rolling an ankle.
Yeah.
Got this thing. I dealt with it. I'm moving on and stuff. So like my whole life was like kind of all it was like skating. Like I worked in it. I did it for fun. I did it not for fun when I just, like I would just end up going out on missions because it's all around me.
Right.
And a part of me felt like it wasn't the thing that it's like the childhood part of it was not there anymore, like
It became a job.
it became a job like early on in my life, but I just it was hard. I felt guilty sometimes going out skating with my friends
Hmm.
versus like going out and filming someone that I should be filming, you
Yeah.
know? And that it was very subtle. It wasn't like in my face, but I knew that there was something there that was like, oh man, like this is kind of a position to be in. Like the thing that you have as you know, the passion in your life. And it goes for probably musicians or anyone that does something like that they enjoy doing and then also gets like
They start making money doing it, and then you have to do it when you wouldn't do it when you were just doing it for fun, or the way that you do it. And I've I've thought about that a lot as a pro skater. I've never been a pro, but I've thought, I got close enough that I could kind of see what that might be like. And I've always thought about, like, man, standing on the top of that 20 stair, looking at that rail, knowing you got to do something nobody's ever done on it, sounds rough.
Yeah, some people handle it a lot better than others. I've just watched people, kind of come and go. It's The skateboarding industry is pretty lame, honestly. Like I think about like companies that have like, a warehouse, and it's like, oh, like your guys in the warehouse are better protected and better paid than like your team.
Right.
Yeah. And they're disposable.
Good point.
I've seen friends blow out their ACLs. I've seen friends have, these like injuries where they just get kicked to the curb. And I always think about that, where it's like the guy packing the boxes for that company is better
Mm.
protected and better paid than the dude who's out there destroying himself for a couple $100 a month. And that I just want to say it always struck a weird chord in me. I didn't like that.
One of the most sobering moments, like looking at the skateboard industry, is you look at a skate mag from 5 years ago, and it's filled with people who you haven't heard from in 4 years.
And they were thick as hell back then too.
Good point. And there were more than one.
Yeah.
Like Thrasher's kind of the only thing in print still, I think.
Yeah.
There might be one other.
Who knows how long that's gonna go. I have like a weird It's so funny too.
Like, the filmer's been taken advantage of and stuff. I think creatives, if you want to call them that, designers, filmers, etc., it's super easy to be taken advantage of, and it's really hard to monetize. Like
Yeah.
business and creative is kind of opposites. And a lot of times people don't understand their value. They don't understand what other people are getting paid for their work. And there's a lot of, hey, the right people are going to see this, right?
Yeah.
And you've got, business people who have all the leverage at times, because it doesn't matter if they don't get that video as much as that videographer doing something with all the work he just put into it.
Mhm.
And not having that experience to say, no, this is X amount of dollars. And, and also, I don't know, putting it together in a certain type of a package or a way that's to monetize creativity is a challenge.
Dude. Yeah. I don't really I don't consider myself like a creative. I know I do things that could kind of like be put. I mean, I used to hate titles. I was just telling you before this. Like, I don't like when someone's like, "Oh, I'm a videographer, I'm a cinematographer, I'm a director, and I'm
Yeah.
a still photographer too." It's like, can you do any of those things actually? Like,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know that I do like a lot of things. I don't like putting titles on myself, and I don't think, now that I've been interviewing for jobs, I don't think I like sell myself, sometimes on like what I'm capable of. I think people look at like my resume has like, 5 or 6 whatever jobs that are all kind of different.
Sure.
Like I worked at a photo agency. I worked at, this live events thing. I worked at a television production company for 2 years, or almost 3 years, maybe more, I forget. But I have all these like different things, and it's like I'm applying for jobs, and it's like lately I've been applying for creative project management jobs,
Mm-hmm.
which I've never done it, but I feel like it's something I could do. And then it's funny, like talking to these people, and it's like, oh, you don't know this like creative project management software? Like, yeah, you're not the right person or something, because of one little thing like that, where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I taught myself to sidechain kick drums to synths, and like engineer like the sounds to not like have phase cancellation, and it's like I taught myself to make music, so I can't learn some piece of software. That's like, I'm not afraid of software.
Right. I think being a resourceful person, it's like, do you know how to use the program, or do you know how to think critically and to figure out how to get the job done, especially when it can't be done in the ways that
Conventionally.
that are conventional. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing too, that I think like skating, being a skateboarder, and like being forced to deal with like failure on a daily basis and physical pain.
Right.
I think a lot of skaters can do a lot more than just skating. It's like, dude, anything I've ever done work related is like a fraction as hard as like tricks that I've had to do, which goes for any other skater too. Like think about how hard it is to like just comfortably push down the street.
Right.
Think about that.
Right.
It's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah. Think about getting yourself to jump on that handrail for the first time, and then think about trying some sort of new discipline or some sort of new role. And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, no matter what happens, I'm gonna walk away.
Yeah, exactly.
When I gotta flip I gotta flip into this rail, and the only way I can do it is to fully commit, and who knows what's gonna happen. I mean, you and I have done that for years and years and years, and so by comparison, everything else seems a lot easier, I think.
Everything is so much easier, dude. And that's why I've like with jobs mainly too, like I even like when I got hired at the photo agency I was a retoucher,
Hmm.
mainly doing like advertisements for like the freeways. I was
Yeah,
compositing these images for like I would spend like a month sometimes on like one car advertisement,
yeah,
crazy project and stuff. But like I had never done that before I got hired there. I had like my retouching test, and I had taken photo classes. All my electives at college were like usually photo electives, and I had like a retouching class. And what I learned there was not what I ended up using set wise at the job. So I was like, okay,
sure,
like I think I know how to do this, but professional level industry standard photo retouching is like its own thing. So I
right,
remember taking the retouching test, and what they were looking for was that you knew like you had an idea of what needed to look right or what didn't look right or what to like fix up,
sure.
not the technical. My technical was up, and I couldn't.
Yeah,
Every agency probably runs their program a little bit different. So
right.
you know, with that job, that was like when I realized, like, oh, dude, I could probably pick up anything if I really wanted, because I definitely like that job to me got old when I stopped learning. Once I got to the point where it's
Mm,
like, okay, like everything we're doing is now formulaic, that's when I was like, I should probably move on. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I got hired based on the eye that, I had for the detail,
right.
not the technical. I mean, I think anyone can learn technical stuff. I think like being like being someone who is good at learning is its own discipline.
100%. Yeah, the ability to think, not just what you know, but the ability to learn it. And I think skateboarding helps with that. I think, if you can master critical thinking and resourcefulness, there's not much that's going to stop you. And we're about to the end of this podcast here, but I want to give you an opportunity as well to, if there's any final things in that vein that you'd love to share. I think our audience is going to get a lot out of it.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like for me, obviously, like life was kind of thrown for a loop last year, but I think we should all look at what was dealt to us. And I'm not a religious person, or for me, like what we're still dealing with was like the world or like the universe telling us like, hey, dude, like you guys need to take a really good look at what things are like and maybe reassess some, cryptocurrency, people working not in office settings, people just kind of like taking a step back and like maybe like I said, reassessing their environments and like what they do and what they don't want to do and what they do want to do. And then, so many people have like been forced to become like a hustler in a way to get by.
Yeah,
And I feel like I've always kind of been, and a lot of my friends, we've always been hustling. It's not anything new to us. I think that's something that like maybe we should try to really take for face value, is like, hey, dude, we got put into this situation because maybe we needed to be put in our place by whatever it is that saw that, that we were.
right.
I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but like,
Yeah, I think, there's a perspective shift there that like everything that you thought you could count on and everything that you thought would always be there, when it's not there, what do you do? And I think it's also really strong to say, or to realize, I should say, is I can do a lot more when I have to do it. And when you're forced, necessity is the mother of invention. And when you have a necessity to figure out how am I going to pay rent tomorrow, or how am I going to deal with this illness that I've just been diagnosed with, what you didn't think you could do, once you have to do it, you realize you have the strength and the courage and the means to get through it.
yeah, we're very resilient people. And I mean, the humans in general are like, we always find a way,
Absolutely.
and whatever it is, like if something happens, like we always kind of like whether it's changing something small or just like looking at something differently or developing something new to fix whatever is broken. Like we've kind of made it pretty far, you know?
Absolutely.
So we're going to make it past this obviously too, you know, and hopefully be better off in the long run. So.
No, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to once things open up a little bit more, getting to go skate with you again out in LA. So hopefully sooner than later. But man, thank you for sharing your story and, you know, sharing your thoughts to our audience. This has been another episode of the DLC Drop podcast with Richie Valdez. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to the DLC Drop podcast. This podcast is part of the Esports Future podcast network and produced by Innovation Media Enterprises. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast channel and leave us a review.